U.S. military is set for a major change in Asia. It will begin transferring thousands of troops off its bases in Okinawa, Japan, as early as 2024. Since World War II, Okinawa has been vital for the U.S. military strategy in the Pacific. But the relationship between U.S. military personnel and the Japanese civilians has become increasingly strained, in part because of a number of high-profile crimes committed by U.S. service members. According to an investigation by the Guardian newspaper, U.S. servicemen in Okinawa have committed more than 5,600 crimes since 1972, including more than 125 rapes. The most infamous was the 1995 kidnap and rape of a 12-year-old Okinawan schoolgirl. That crime sent shockwaves through the island and through Washington, D.C. as well. The complex history of the U.S. military on Okinawa is the focus of a new book. It's called Night in the American Village: Women in the Shadow of the U.S. Military Bases in Okinawa. And the author, Kemi Johnson, is with us today. It's so nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Now, before I get into why this topic was interesting to you, I want you to give me a sense, with these big changes now approaching, how would you describe the relationship right now between the people who live around the bases and the people who work on the bases, the Americans and the Japanese? Is it friendly? Is it tense? Is it complicated?
Well, we hear a lot about the opposition toward the bases, but when I spent time in Okinawa and I got to know people living around the bases, I was actually surprised to find out that many people have a more ambivalent feeling toward the base presence. And that's because of the long history of the U.S. military in Okinawa and the many ways that Okinawans have come to interact with the base presence. Many locals work on base. They date and marry service members, they have kids, they have families, and they grow up alongside these bases, consuming American culture, and they're really more integrated into the surrounding communities than I imagined. And so I was really interested in this tension there between opposition toward the bases and then also this kind of intimacy with the bases as well.
So you, in your book, focus on the women. And you really use a chapter to highlight women. Why the relationship between women and the bases versus kind of everybody and the bases?
Yeah. I decided to focus on women because they're arguably the most affected by the U.S. military presence. They're the ones more likely to date and marry U.S. service members, to work in the entertainment areas around the bases, and also to be the targets of sexual assault.
Your book, in fact, starts with something horrible, right? Which is back in 2016, there was a rape and murder of a young woman. She was 20. Her name was Rina Shimabukuro. Am I pronouncing that?
Yeah, Shimabukuro.
And a former U.S. Marine who was working on Kadena Air Base was implicated in her rape and murder. Why launch the book that way?
Well, to me, that story and that crime both represented the story of Okinawa and also what people get wrong about the story of Okinawa. So, as I found, there is a long history of sexual assault by U.S. service members in Okinawa, and much of it has remained hidden. It's much more of a problem than people know. But on the other hand, what I found is that many Okinawans don't see themselves as victims.
What brought you to go and really camp out near the bases and start doing your reporting?
Yeah. It started because really of a personal connection that I felt toward this place. I'm biracial, half Japanese American, fourth generation, half white American. And, unlike the rest of Japan, in Okinawa, I really saw something of my own experience reflected in the landscape. It's a very multicultural, mixed place because of the American presence, the Japanese influence, and the indigenous Okinawan influence too.
It seems amazing from your book. The book is fantastic. Thank you so much for talking with us about it. Really appreciate it. Kemi Johnson.